What do you do when you've just conquered the most sacred lawn in tennis? When the ghosts of center court nod their heads in approval. When your name is etched alongside the greats. If you're Jannik Sinner, you climb down from the cloud of glory and step into an ice bath. Yes, an ice bath. Not champagne, not tuxedos, not late-night celebrations with the stars of London. Jannik Sinner chose recovery. He chose stillness in the cold, the kind that only champions understand. Behind the scenes, coach Darren Cahill snapped a photo, a young man wrapped in towels, submerged waist-deep in icy water. And in that image, the world saw something more than just a recovery routine. It saw discipline, sacrifice, humility. Because Sinner didn't just win Wimbledon, he earned it, the hard way. Seeded number 1 at the 2025 championships, Jannik Sinner entered SW19 not just as a contender, but as the man to beat. The pressure was enormous, the expectations, towering, but he didn't flinch, he didn't blink, he carved through the draw with surgical precision. First came Luka Nardi, down in straight sets. Then Alexander Vukic, handled with the calm of a surgeon. Pedro Martinez fell next, and by that point, whispers turned into belief. Grigor Dimitrov, seated and dangerous, tried to stop him. Ben Shelton, bold and booming, brought American fire. But none of them could derail the red-haired Italian with ice in his veins and fire in his forehand. And then came the moment that changed everything. The semifinal. Novak Djokovic, 7-time Wimbledon champion, the man who once ruled center court like a monarch. Sinner didn't just beat Djokovic, he dismantled a dynasty. He took the air out of the stands and turned legends into spectators. It was calm, controlled, ruthless, and it was personal. Because Sinner had been here before. He had seen glory, tasted near victory, felt heartbreak. Just weeks earlier, he had stood on Philippe Chatrier in the Roland Garros final. He had looked Carlos Alcaraz in the eye. And he had lost. A dramatic battle, a crushing defeat. But great players learn, and champions evolve. So when fate brought them back together, this time in the Wimbledon final, Sinner was ready. Alcaraz, the two-time defending champion, had history on his side. But Sinner had hunger. And when the dust settled on that pristine green grass, it was Jannik Sinner who raised the golden trophy. The moment he had dreamed of his entire life. He didn't scream. He didn't fall to the ground. He stood tall, like a man who knew he belonged. He had tamed the nerves, silenced the skeptics, slayed giants. He was the Wimbledon champion. At 23 years old, Sinner had scaled the peak of tennis tradition. He had joined the recovery rituals of Świątek and Alcaraz, not just as a peer, but as a fellow Grand Slam winner. That photo in the ice bath wasn't a stunt. It was a reminder, greatness is built in moments unseen. The late nights, the early mornings, the practice sessions when no one is watching, and the recovery routines that define longevity. Wimbledon 2025 belonged to Jannik Sinner. But more than that, it introduced a new kind of champion. Quiet, focused, resilient, the kind who lets his racket do the talking. The kind who respects the sport more than the spotlight. The kind who wins and then cools off in frozen water because the journey never truly ends. In that final against Alcaraz, it wasn't just about revenge, it was about reclaiming belief. About taking control of a rivalry that will define a generation. Djokovic may be exiting the stage. Nadal may have passed the torch. Federer has long since walked into the sunset. But the new order has arrived. And at the front of it stands a young Italian who once played in silence. Now roaring with his game. Wimbledon didn't change Jannik Sinner. It revealed him. To the world. To his critics. To himself. A champion. A master of the moment. And yet, even with the title, the trophy, the history, it was the ice bath that spoke loudest. Because that's where tomorrow's victories begin. That's where legacies are preserved. And that's where Wimbledon's newest king reminds us. The crown is heavy. The work never stops. And the grass, like greatness, must always be earned.